kids aged probably like 12 to 14 or even younger, and now he sort of runs around with porn stars and smoking joints the whole time. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Early Bird podcast, where we discuss raw, relevant content in an open and relatable way. Please go and subscribe like wherever you want to listen to the podcast. We are on YouTube now, we are on Spotify, and soon coming to the podcast app on your phone. That's taken a little bit of time to get to, but it is definitely coming very soon. So welcome, and we have a very special guest with us today. He has made a name for himself in the travel and action sports area as a filmmaker and all-around crazy motherfucker from Cape Town. He films all his content on GoPro cameras and has also been working with GoPro themselves. When we look at his content, it may seem that he spends all of his time wakeboarding in blue ass water with beautiful people, but we're going to dive into what's behind the content. I'd like to introduce to you guys Chris Rogers. Welcome to the podcast, Chris.
How's it, bro? Shot for having me here. There I am on the screen.
Yeah, they are on the screen. Epic. Yeah, thank you so much for joining. Very excited to have you on, and hopefully we can sort of just discuss. We were just chatting earlier about the fact it's very difficult to find any information about Chris, and I mean he's happy about that, but maybe we can find a few little details about his life that he's willing to share, and some of the lifestyle that is behind all of this amazing content that we see online.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Epic. So you pretty much, in terms of yourself, you grew up in Cape Town. I don't know if you want to share, how that was for you, like what you enjoyed. And
no, born and bred in Cape Town, grew up here. I mean, I went to schools I'm from the southern suburbs, and then I did 4 years of studying at UCT and got a degree in a BCom in information systems.
Oh, wow.
Which I don't think too many people know. Yeah, so did my 4 years, and then kind of picked up a bit of filmmaking as a hobby and a passion when I was around about 16, 17 years old, and then it kind of grew and grew while I was studying at university. And then I wasn't super passionate about my degree, and I told myself I'll give the video thing a go for at least 2 years when I graduate, and if it doesn't work out after that, then I'll go back to something else. But it kind of worked out, so I'm pretty stoked on that, and here we are.
Yeah, definitely. And how many years ago is that now? Do you know?
I graduated end of 2015.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, end of 2015.
So I mean, it hasn't necessarily been that long.
Year.
That's crazy.
No, I mean, I would say my career sort of kicked off late 2012. At the end of my first year of university, I kind of made 1 or 2 videos that got some attention online, and that's when people started messaging me going, "Hey, how much do you charge for videos?" And me as like a 19-year-old was just like, "Whoa, I can make money off of this. This is awesome." And then everything kind of took off. Social media started coming into play, and I just sort of saw all these opportunities pop up. And my timing was pretty perfect. If I'd been maybe 2 years younger, I think I probably would have ended up dropping out of university just because of just how content was evolving online back then. But I'm glad I got my degree and pretty happy with the timing of everything.
So you did finish that at the same time that you were making videos. You still finished your degree.
Yeah,
okay.
Finished my degree. I was just spending every second moment I had making videos if I was able to. I think it definitely affected my grades, but I got the degree at the end of the day. I mean, my last 2 years were quite a struggle, just because I had to put in so much time at university. So it was almost depressing not being able to film as much as I would have liked. But I was already past the halfway point. It just made sense to finish up and get the degree. So that's what I did, and the timing couldn't have been better.
Okay, so but would you say at least that your degree then helped you maybe with what you're doing now in a way?
Um, not completely, but I just my way of thinking changed a lot. So like, I studied a business degree, and what I find is a lot of people in the creative industry don't really know how to run a business. So I think getting a business degree helped me a lot in that sense. And just also just developing my ways of thinking helped me a lot for sure. So maybe not directly, but indirectly, definitely.
You've also, I think you've gone on to start your own business though. After that, you have a business that I think you're a co-founder of G Dome, which is what
Yeah.
yeah.
So
How do you describe
Yeah,
it?
so Gito was so my buddy Brett, he's the guy who's really behind the company and the day-to-day operations. He sort of approached me and said, "Hey, I want to start this new accessory. Are you keen to get involved?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm all about it." And we sort of developed this product together, and I think Brett kind of knew he needed someone like me to really test the product and endorse it, as a avid filmmaker and GoPro user, I guess. And then he kind of wanted me way more involved with the day-to-day operations, and that's when my film career was kind of kicking off. I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'll just take a smaller, percentage of shares in the company and do my own thing, and that's what we did, and it just kind of worked out for the better that way. So yeah, that's been a really cool thing being a part of that. But when it comes down to it, I'm more just the product tester and developer, and kind of consult a bit on the marketing side. I'm not really involved in the day-to-day operations of the business, and it's better that way for sure. But yeah, it was cool being a part of that, and it's been awesome to see the growth and the change of that company as a whole, especially the parent company, which Brett manages. It's been insane watching that grow over the last 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, because I mean, G Dome, it's a pretty unique product. There's not really anything else like it.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's funny because the main reason we really started that was that a dome wasn't anything new or special. It was just the fact that we were, you know, we really liked the shots you could get with the dome, and there was only one other company doing it, and they were charging the same price as a GoPro for it.
Yeah,
And we just thought that was ridiculous. It's like, why must we pay $300-400 for just an
for an
accessory? It
accessory.
just seems such overkill. So we were like, well, let's see if we can make one that's actually affordable, especially for South Africans. I mean, the company's 90% of the sales are actually overseas now, which is great. But yeah, it was actually about creating a good quality product that wasn't a ripoff. I mean, sure, the other competitor who originally started, their product was insanely good. The build quality was unbelievable, but it didn't need to be that expensive. And that's kind of the gap in the market we wanted to fill. And then, China comes along with all their knockoffs, and every company has their own sort of dome. But the problem was that, a lot of these other companies weren't actual users of their product. So um, a lot of people might buy the cheaper domes and then realize, oh, wait, they haven't done this or this design, and the dome gets a lot of reflection. And I think that's what separated us, was that, we actually use and test our product like crazy. Um, and it's not just a company going, oh, look, we have a dome. We don't really even know how to use it, but we just have one. And I think that's kind of what separated us from the rest of the people, is that, it was someone like myself and all the other incredible ambassadors we have for GDOM, of people who are like, top photographers using a product that actually works the way you want it to.
100%. But I'm sure. So you always start out? You started out filming on GoPros like from day one when you started getting into filmmaking.
Um, well, I mean, I originally started, so, I mean, I won't get into the full story, but I had an injury when I was 15. I broke both my legs
Oh
snowboarding.
wow, cheers.
That put me in a wheelchair. And at the time, I was really into my wakeboarding, even from a competitive perspective. And now I couldn't do this sport for a while. So the next best thing I could do was grab my dad's old Canon camera and start taking photos. So I go to all the events that I would usually compete in, but now it there in a wheelchair with my dad's camera taking photos. But for once, one of the photographers at the event was actually someone who did the sport. So I was getting shots that most of the athletes were pretty stoked on. So it's like, oh, finally someone who actually does the sport and understands it is taking photos. Because you get really good photographers there, but they weren't, wakeboarders. Yeah, I just sort of picked up photography while I was injured and couldn't really do anything else. And that was just as sort of GoPro were coming onto the scene, and I was really into my surfing in high school. And that's when GoPro were like strictly a surfing camera. So I would see it in like Zigzag magazines and in surf shops. I thought, oh, that looks pretty cool. That'd be pretty epic to have like a waterproof camera. And yeah, saved up for one and bought the first HD GoPro at the end of 2010. And that's where it really started in terms of video. It's funny, man, because when I started this career that I have now didn't even exist. I mean, a filmmaker existed, but this whole social media side, influencer, I hate that word, but yeah, it didn't exist. And it's funny because when I was making videos, I was just stoked to be making videos, and the only place you could upload it was YouTube, and then eventually Facebook introduced, and finally Instagram, etc. But it was just me just making content, putting it out online just for the sake of being stoked on it. And also just because coming from a sort of action sports background, it's a very small industry. So, I remember a big part of me would always be telling my friends, oh, you've got to try surfing, or you've got to try wakeboarding. It's awesome. They'd be like, yeah. And then, you go shoot these things. It's like, how can I make a video to make people stoked about trying it? I don't want to have to just tell people, convince them. Why don't I show them? And then, I got GoPro shared a couple of my photos. And back then in the sort of glory days of Instagram, if you got one share from GoPro, you got, 4,000 new followers in 24 hours. It was crazy. And that's kind of what definitely built my profile to begin with. And then it's always just such an exponential thing. It starts off really slowly and then it just snowballs and just takes off. And that's kind of what happened with my Instagram and my YouTube channel. With YouTube, it was just as soon as I started being consistent, that's when it really took off. Consistency was everything. And then, I sort of met friends who were, big YouTubers and sort of saw the whole side of the sort of influencer side to it. Because for forever, people were just hiring me because of my skill set, not because of my social media following. It's like, hey, we like your style. We want that for our product or our festival or whatever it was. Come do that. And I still get hired for that, which is great because it means people are hiring me for my skill and my style, not just because I have a number next to my name. And then, slowly but surely when my social media grew, it went from, hey, we want you to make a video for us. And we just want your style to, hey, how much can we pay you to make a video? You could do whatever you want, just include our product, or, a bit of both. It's gone from me charging people as a filmmaker to now I charge clients for, are you charging me do you want me as a filmmaker? Do you want me as a social media, personality? Do you want me for my marketing ability, or both? So it's pretty cool. I now get to charge brands for two different things, which is awesome. So I'll still go out and do shoots where I don't even have to post anything on social media. They don't care about my YouTube or Instagram. They just like my style. And I don't do many of those anymore just because I have more fun and freedom doing the sort of brand deals where I get to do whatever I want and somebody's paying for it because I'm endorsing a product or a surf service or something. And the only time I usually accept a job, which is more being hired as a filmmaker, is if the job is cool enough that I can actually get epic content for myself to post on my channel. So I still do a few of those, but I'm very selective of those jobs nowadays.
So you would say that the best sort of endorsements and whatnot would be the ones obviously where you get to choose what you do with the video and they pay you and you can sort of decide everything as long as the product's included. But I'm sure like one of the difficult things is how do you keep keep the trust then with sort of your viewers and your audience, that people don't think, oh well, he's just doing this because he's getting paid, or he's just showing this product? So would you say you only endorse products you really like, or you just make it clear? Or how would you keep the trust between you and your audience?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be pretty honest about that. On YouTube, I've found branding is a lot more accepted by the audience, especially with my genre of content, because my production level and value is so high. You know, flights to the other side of the world, hotels, rentals, you know, everything you're getting, all the stuff I do, recreational stuff, it's really expensive. So when people see me do a branded video, I usually make sure that the client is giving me such an epic budget that I can go make a really awesome video. So sure, my viewers are getting, sure, my viewers are getting an ad, but they're getting such an epic video that it's like, okay, sure, he sold out a little bit on that, but like, damn, we got such an epic video that we didn't have to pay for. You know, I'll accept an ad for that. Most of the time, I try to work with a brand that fits into what represents me or my line of work. If it's a bit more on the sellout side, then I'm just making sure that the content is so epic that the viewer and the audience is going, okay, we got an ad, but like, damn, that was such a cool video. I didn't have to pay for it. You know, someone had to pay to make that production happen. So I think people understand that. And I usually mention that in videos. It's like, you know, I shot this video last year in Florida, and I think Audible were the sponsor, and that's a bit of a sellout. Like, sure, it's a product I use, but it's, you know, there are a lot of YouTubers that have worked with that company, and I go and I make the best possible video I can with the budget I have, and just go like, you know, big shout out to Audible. They sponsored this video. They made it happen. And people understand that. It's like, well, obviously someone had to pay for it.
Yeah.
You know, Chris isn't just some dude with $1 million in his bank account because he, you know, I don't know, sold an app for millions of dollars or something like that. You know, that someone has to pay for it. And I think a YouTube audience is very understanding of that. On Instagram, I'll try to keep it a bit more in check, but usually it's, I mean, I would say I turn down 90 to 95% of the emails that come into my inbox asking for a brand deal.
Wow, that's crazy.
But
That's,
if I do
it's a high number of.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of offers and stuff.
I get a lot, man, but a lot of people are just either it's not in line with my brand, and I mean, I'll be honest about this. I don't think many people are, but everyone has a price. So if it's something that I think is a bit of a sellout, I'm going to charge them a premium price for it. Like, you know, so if you see me ever endorsing, like, oh my gosh, I don't know, something that doesn't really fit my brand super well, like, let's say, I don't know, some like cosmetic brand, let's say like hair, like some shampoo or conditioner, or like a skincare product, like that doesn't fit my brand too. Like, sure, everyone uses, you know, shampoo, conditioner, moisturizer, but like, you know, that doesn't really fit my brand. But if you see me endorsing that, you know, I'm being paid well, and I'm also going to ensure that I use that budget to create the best possible content I can. So it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Chris, you know, worked with this freaking makeup brand, but like, holy crap, he spent the budget on like going to Tahiti and hired like helicopters and jet skis, and it's like, you know, someone had to pay for it. So I think that there's definitely a lot more understanding with that on YouTube compared to Instagram. I'll usually try to keep it pretty subtle and in line with my brand on Instagram, but YouTube, I think the YouTube audience is very understanding of like, you know, someone's got to pay for this.
Yeah, I think people get used to it after a while. Like they can see that, or if I want this content, like these videos are all like super amazing, but obviously they're sponsored or so. And I think that just takes me to another question, because I think that a lot of people, what they see, and obviously the content that you put out is like insane. It's exciting. It's like adrenaline filled, inspiring content. You're like, whoa, like I want to do that. But I think a lot of people don't realize some of the stuff that goes in behind that, like the filming, all the time you have to spend. You're not always the one wakeboarding or like doing the fun stuff necessarily. You're filming, you're editing, and how much goes in behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's just that classic iceberg effect. You know, everyone sees the little 10% on top of the surface, and they don't see the other 90% of behind the scenes. And that's kind of what I think separates everyone. Is everyone looks at this goes like, you know, the funniest, most annoying comment that'll happen is on my YouTube. It's like, oh, you just filmed your holiday. It's like, no, dude, I spent a lot of money. Like when you, and it's funny when people message me, I don't mean to be like condescending about it, but when somebody messages me, hey man, I'm going to Bali on holiday, I'm going to make like a sick video, whatever. It's like you're probably not, man. Like, no offense, but you've saved up, you've worked hard for this holiday, you know, and because of that, you're not going to wake up every morning at 5 a.m. to go hike somewhere to get a shot that'll be 3 seconds of it. Like, no, you're going to take it easy. It's your holiday. You're going to relax. You're going to make the most of your vacation time. You're not going to, you know, put your body through the wars because you're on holiday. And some people do because they see what needs to be done in order to get to the sort of lifestyle thing that they want. But you know, a lot of people don't realize that you're you know, you're just killing yourself getting these shots, or you know, you got to wake up at 3 a.m. to hike somewhere for 3 hours to get one shot that's going to be 3 seconds of the video. But that's kind of what separates everyone is what are you willing to do to get, you know, a couple of seconds of footage, or you know, how far are you willing to go to get that shot. And you know, unfortunately it's just not seen, and that's just something I've accepted. And I've thought about hiring someone to film behind the scenes, and I might do that for certain projects. And one of my biggest projects from last year, I have filmed a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and it's a sort of mini documentary I'm working on. You know, the final video was this epic compilation of an athlete I worked with, and we went, you know, we filmed snowboarding in Italy and wakeboarding in the Philippines and Turks and Caicos and Florida. Like, yes, but I work more hours than you. You know, I don't have a 9 to 5. I'm like just always working on the go.
And with that, then how do you also sort of just like try and find some time to just like sort of take a break from social media, from yourself, just find some time for yourself to like look at yourself, spend time with family. I don't know if you're in a relationship or not, or like just small things like that.
Yeah, it becomes a little tricky. I mean, I think I'm pretty decent with it, especially when coming back, or when I'm between trips. Last year I was really bad with it. Yeah, I was in a relationship last year where I was definitely not balancing and managing my time well at all. So it became really tricky. But yeah, it really just comes down to self-discipline and saying no. But it's so difficult you just got to judge what's a good opportunity and what isn't, and that's like a never-ending process. This sort of conversation I was having with friends is a lot of us, you know, we're all technically freelancers, so we don't really know what we're earning month to month. And when you're starting out, you know, you're just hustling like crazy. You're just like taking every job, every opportunity you can, because, well, I mean, shit, you have to. You don't really have a choice. And then once you start building your portfolio and building your clientele, and you know, start, I don't know, cruising a bit more, and it's you know, you're not struggling as much financially as you were when you started. You kind of almost forget about that, and you're still in that hustle mentality because that's what you had to be in for so long. And then you kind of go like, wait, like I can actually afford to say no to this and no to that right now. But it's difficult changing that mindset when you've kind of been on that hustle mentality for so long, where you just have to take everything. You got to do as much as you can. It's very, it's not that this line of work is like lonely. Like, yes, you might be traveling somewhere, but I'm always meeting up with someone somewhere, you know, but there's still a sort of lack of sense of community as other people would have in, you know, other jobs. Or like when I was at university, you have, you know, all the people in your class and you're around with. You don't really have that sense of community that you would like. I mean, you have that community with so many other friends in this industry, but you know, everyone else is also doing their own thing. So
So you're not with the same people. Also, you sort of jump around, and you don't have like a
you know,
tight community. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I have a good group of friends in this industry, but one lives in Australia, two live in Italy, another in France, America, Hawaii, all over. And yeah, we chat quite a lot, but we're not, we're only hanging out a couple times a year, if that. So there's that sense of community to a certain degree, which is cool every day.
I think, yeah, it's just a journey. Sort of, you change and everything carries on evolving and growing as time goes on. And also, Joe, with yourself, in terms of your relationship with yourself, would you say that it's sometimes easy to get lost in just working, so that you sort of lose touch with your personality in a way, and sort of your personal goals and aspirations, as opposed to this world of your work and filming and constantly chasing like a bigger, better video or doing things like that?
Yeah. I like to think I've been pretty grounded through it all. Um, mostly, mostly because I've got a lot of friends sort of in this industry that, aren't just filmmakers, they're just massive online personalities, and I think that's when you live a lot more of a double life, because the content is more about you, whereas my content is more about, it's not, people don't tune into my content like, oh, I wonder what Chris is up to, I wonder like how he's doing, and what like they don't, like you said in the beginning, people don't know the personal stuff about me. They don't know anything about my family or close friends or anything like that. And I have other friends that are online personalities like that, where people know everything about their mom, their dad, their dog, and like I've seen it firsthand. I'm not going to mention names, but we'll go for a hike or something, and I'm with this person who's a big online personality. Someone that they've never met in their entire life comes up to them and it's like, "Hey man, like big fan of you. Like, oh, how's your dog doing? Is your mom okay?" Like, it's just like what? Like, imagine a complete stranger coming up to you and asking all this personal information about that you've never met, but because you've created such a sort of good relationship with your audience, they feel like they actually know you. And to a certain degree they do, but they only know the online version of you. And I think it's quite a trip for those people. And I've seen the effects of that, and I've gone like, cool, I don't want that. I don't want people coming up to me and saying personal things. I want people coming up, if people come up to me, they need to be coming up to me because of like my line of work, or maybe I worked with an athlete that they're a big fan of or something like that. And that's what happens, if when people come up to me in person, it's just like, oh, it's so cool that you went there, or you worked with that surfer or snowboard or whatever. And that's cool. Like it's work focused.
Yeah, okay. It's not
Hey
personally.
Chris, how you doing? Like, it's not personal, which is way better. And like people tune into my channel to see like what, where is Chris? Who's he working with? What is he doing? It's not like, oh, I wonder what he's going to do this week, and like if his dog's okay.
Yeah.
And none of that kind of stuff. And that's how I plan on keeping it. I'll share the stuff I want to share, and the stuff I want to keep private, I'll keep private. I've got friends, like I said, that are big online personalities, and it's funny because you'll hang out with them and it's modern day reality TV or acting. Cameras on, and it's like boom, they're this super extrovert, out there personality. Even their accent might change a bit, and you've got to be entertaining.
Yeah.
When the camera's off, they're just the normal chill self. And I think it trips out a lot of people when they meet someone in person that they follow online, and then they're not the person that they watch on YouTube every day. It's not this crazy epic, oh my gosh, out there person, because nobody's like that 24/7.
Yeah, they're just normal people, but it's sort of like a show that they put on for themselves or for the audience in a way.
Exactly. And you have to, otherwise it's not entertaining. Like I can't stand a vlog where someone's like, oh guys, we're here going to the beach, and yeah, it's beautiful. It's like that's so boring. Yeah. So boring.
You have to sort of over-energize.
Crazy. Oh my gosh, you have to. And if you're not, it's that's entertainment. That's do you honestly think Logan Paul and Casey Neistat are all crazy like that 24/7? No ways. No ways.
I think it's cool, just sort of looking at I think that people can sort of sometimes think that about certain people that they see online, and they're like, whoa, they're always just like this and doing all of this crazy stuff the whole time. And I think that it's changing slightly. I mean, like I've what's been cool, you brought up Logan Paul. I think that his podcast's quite cool, the way that he's been able to sort of, like, I think people will get to like sort of understand that he's not always just like acting in this crazy way. He's sort of has a whole bunch of deeper things going on for him as well. And I mean,
it's crazy. My opinion on Logan Paul has changed so much in the last couple of years. Like when he started blowing up with his vines and funny Facebook videos, I was like, oh, this dude's pretty funny. He seems cool. And then he blew up with his vlogs, and I was just like, fuck, this guy is terrible. He's just creating such a terrible, superficial message to all these young kids that are watching him. And then it kind of blew up in his face, and he realized that now, like as of 2-3 months ago, I'm actually subscribed to his channel, and his content's good. He's sort of copied that David Dobrik model, you know, where it's like, keep it short, keep it entertaining. For me, I hate vlogs when people talk too much, or they're just like blabbing on. I'm just like, that's boring. Entertain me. I want to be entertained. And I think that's just the way I consume content. And Logan's kind of realized, let me just make short, punchy, epic content. And that's what he's doing, and it's awesome. It's great.
Yeah, I've also seen that. I've been following following him. I mean, I also went through a stage where I was like, okay, this is pretty like crazy. This is too much for me. Like I don't need this sort of craziness. And I think he's really brought it back. And I also am subscribed to his podcast, setting up my podcast and stuff. I've looked at like quite a few different people, and one of the other people I found pretty interesting was Russell Brand. So he's also been like a big sort of like celebrity, still is, and in movies and whatnot. But I think that he's very interesting, and the stuff he has to say is super interesting. And his podcast that he did with Logan was also super interesting.
They did one together?
Yeah, they did. They've actually done two, one on his podcast and one on Russell's podcast. And both of them were really...
No way. Wow, I need to go watch that one. Yeah, I think what's cool about Russell Brand is he's, at least from the small little bits I've seen, is he doesn't give a fuck about pleasing Hollywood anymore.
Yeah, that's what I've seen. It's like, and also keeping up to date with everything and what's going on. Like people will mention something to him. He's like, oh, you did that? Oh, cool. Like, tell me about it. It's not like he knows everything that's going on the whole time. He doesn't really give a fuck, like you said.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's like what was so cool about Ricky Gervais. Was it the Golden Globes this year where he just kind of called out Hollywood? It's like, I don't give a shit. Like, and that's what you can do when you're that established. You don't have to please the fucking producers or directors or anything like that anymore. You can do your own thing and actually say it how it is, because at least when you're starting out in that industry, you know, you can't say the wrong thing. Otherwise no one's going to hire you. But when you're a big enough name, like Russell, Ricky, or whatever, you can say whatever you want and actually call the people out, because you know you're already established, and people will either hire you or you can actually just do your own thing and be your own producer and create your own movies. So it's nice to see that, you know, you just see these people that are so media trained with their, you know, copy paste answers and responses every time, and a lot of people are waking up to that now and just kind of over the superficial BS that all of that is.
Yeah, I've seen quite a big sort of change in content from quite a lot of people in the last sort of probably like year even, I think. It hasn't been necessarily too long, but just in terms of people being more aware, like maybe showing other parts of their lives that they wouldn't necessarily show, like people primarily trying to put out this perfect image of themselves. Or like as an example, I don't know, I actually... Bella Thorne for me has been an interesting person, because like some of the stuff I've never really related. I watched some stuff like a podcast and whatnot about her, but what she has always done very well is being super raw with the stuff that she does. Like if her hair is not looking perfect, like she's not going to not post a photo because she doesn't look perfect. Like I think it creates a sense of maybe like, oh, it's okay. And not everyone has to be at this like super perfect, photoshopped level the whole time.
It's good. It's cool to see that, especially with celebrities, because people sort of put celebrities on this pedestal of just being not human, you know, and people forget that, like, you know, sure, Justin Bieber, massive superstar, but he just wants to be treated like a normal human at the end of the day. You know, if you meet him, don't freak out and fanboy, just treat him like a normal dude, because that's what he really is at the end of the day. And I think that's what pisses off a lot of celebrities, is when people meet them and freak them out and don't treat them like a normal human. It's like, I think a lot of them, because they don't get treated like that often. I think they kind of miss that, you know. And I think them showing this raw side to them is actually showing people that, like, oh, you know, this person, even though they have millions of dollars in a giant mansion in the Hollywood Hills, they are at the end of the day just another normal human to a certain degree.
Do you think that everyone online sort of has some sort of responsibility to try and not keep that pedestal and try and be a little bit more open and be a little bit more like just normalizing themselves a little bit more?
Yeah, I think it is important to do that, because I see a lot of people who don't, and I even fall into that category every now and again, because people always think I'm on some tropical beach with, you know, beautiful models or an athlete or something. You know, people followed me to see travel stuff and extreme sports stuff. So I will continue to keep doing that. That's what I like doing, even though I paint this picture perfect world on Instagram. Every now and again on my stories, I'll be like, oh, actually, I've been stuck in a hotel room that's tiny, you know, editing this video for 4 days, and maybe I'll even post something similar to that on my feed to just, I don't know, try bring it back down to earth and be like, you know, it's not just.
Yeah, I've seen that from you as well, like a few times. So I think it just doing that even once, like now and then, it sort of brings everything back down. It's like, okay, well, there are other things that go on. It's not just sitting on the beach the whole day. Like there are other things that go on behind the scenes that you don't really see.
Exactly.
And I mean, I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong formula for what you should share or not share. It's completely subjective to you and what you feel, and it's your sort of brand and your what you're putting out. Yeah, like you said, it is super subjective, and I think that there is room on social media for everything, sort of. There is room for discussions about mental health and ways that people can help themselves, take themselves through difficult times in their lives, and there's space for your content, which is like very sort of inspiring and thrilling and exciting to watch and very entertaining. And there's room for comedy, there's room for so many different types of content, and there's so many different types of people. So I think there's room for everything and whatever you do, but it does make sense at the end of the day that you stick to sort of the content that people have subscribed to and they follow you for.
Yeah. And I mean, and you don't have to be stuck in that. Like if one day I decide I don't like traveling or surfing or wakeboarding anymore, like, and it doesn't make me happy, I'm gonna change that. But I'll probably still put it out on my platform, and yes, probably a lot of my audience would leave and I would gain a different audience, and that's fine. But it's also, you know, you also don't want to be stuck in creating content that you hate because it's what gets you views. So I'm going to keep doing that. And if I decide I want to change things one day, I'm going to change that. And if people don't like that, they can leave, and maybe maybe other people will actually be like, oh, I actually like this new content, I'll come subscribe to that. And I've seen friends and other YouTubers do that. I mean, look at even Logan Paul's done that.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say he's definitely done that. I'm sure his demographics changed because he was very much kids. I think his content's a little bit older now, possibly. I mean, and his brother seems to have gone a little bit crazy.
Yeah,
he's really completely changed.
Keep track of that.
But he's completely changed his thing.
Okay.
He's sort of gone from like, which was also, I was pretty surprised. Like, I watched one of his videos. I've never really been a massive follower of Jake, but he used to post like videos for kids. It was very much for like kids aged probably like 12 to 14 or even younger. And now he sort of runs around with porn stars and smoking joints the whole time. So it's like, he's really just said, okay, fuck that, I'm going completely different way. Which I was pretty surprised at.
Yeah, I wonder if his content's age restricted then, because if you can't have
it is.
Yeah, you can't have his old audience watching that. But yeah, it's crazy, but also cool to see that, you know, people are like,
yeah, definitely
not just chasing the clout anymore. It's like, actually, what do I want to do? Like, what I want people to follow me for. And so that's
it's an evolutionary sort of process. It evolves. I mean, we evolve, and our content, I think the content that we put out should evolve with us. We don't want anything to be sort of static. Nothing is really constant anyway. Sure. So
I think
as long as that evolves with you.
Yeah, I think Casey is also a great example of that. Like, I always enjoyed his short films. Wasn't the biggest fan of his vlogs, you know, like, yeah, I mean, his vlogs were good, but I never really watched his vlogs, but he would always put out like a short film in between them. And those were the ones I watched. And
Yeah.
that was fine. You know, I originally followed Casey for his awesome little short films, not for his vlogs. And that's pretty much all I kept watching. I'd watch a vlog every now and again, but I mostly just watched his short films, and that's what I preferred. So yeah, everyone kind of adapts and evolves, but yeah, it's just a never-ending process, I guess.
Very, very interesting to me just to hear from you. I think you are doing some sort of a job that I think so many people aspire to do possibly, but don't necessarily have the background into what goes on behind it, and maybe you yourself in a way, and a whole bunch of other things. They just see specific pockets. So my goal is just to sort of dive into the behind the scenes of that and different elements. And I think we managed to get through quite a lot.
Yeah, no, it was cool, man. I think a lot of people.
Thank you.
A lot of people definitely, they see the sugar coated version, you know. So it's always cool to talk more about the behind the scenes and what really goes into it.
Yeah, definitely, and I'm very grateful for you coming on and joining me for.
Of course, thanks for having me, man.
For this podcast. Yeah. Thank you very much, guys, for subscribing and watching. If you haven't, please just go subscribe below. It really helps the channel and helps us to continue doing this and continue getting new people to come and join the podcast, and makes this viable for me to carry on doing. So please, would you do that? And I will see you guys with another episode, very exciting one coming up next week, Tuesday. New episodes every Tuesday. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys next time.